Greetings and salutations, workers of the world. I am American Johnson. This is NonCompete. This is Quickrise, and this is a follow-up to yesterday's video on unions and the IWW. I got a lot of feedback and questions and criticism related to that video. I'm going to just scroll through, and we're going to talk about it, keep the conversation going. So the first comment I got, I think, the most was, I'm a student. I'm young. I don't have a job yet. Can I, should I, how could I join a union? If you're a student, first of all, you could consider joining or forming a student union. Depending on whether you're in high school or college, you might already have a student union where you go to school. And if not, you should maybe consider starting one. And there have been some amazing actions made by students lately, striking and demonstrating for climate change. So I would definitely recommend you look in. You can go to earthstrike.org and see if they have any kind of student organizations that you could join in your area, or if not, you could start one yourself. Or you could also work on grievances you have with your school. Maybe your school's not treating students well in whatever way. You could kind of identify problems and start working towards solving them. And I think you could get a lot done in a student union. Otherwise, if you're a college student, you don't have a job, and you're just going to school, you could still definitely consider joining the IWW and participating, going to meetings. You can learn a lot from the IWW, and many places they have training programs you can go through, and you can learn a lot about organizing and prepare yourself for when you do enter the workforce. You'll be a step ahead of the game when you do finally get that first job, and you'll be a lot more confident, and you'll have a lot of tips and tricks and tools up your sleeve and on your belt and wherever else you keep tricks and tools and tips. And so, yeah, the IWW, very valuable organization, and we're going to talk a lot more about the IWW. But first, let's talk about trade unions. So we got a lot of comments about trade unions. A lot of people said, like, my trade union's dues are too high, or I don't trust my trade union. My trade union is in cahoots with management. In fact, we got a couple of comments about, union collusion with management. One person said that unions colluding with management is worse than no union at all. Another person said, my union was and is in cahoots with management, on the take for both dues and whatever kickbacks they get for their standing down when told to. Power and money corrupts, period. So yeah, this is a real concern. I know that a lot of people have also pointed me to Bad Empanada's video about the terrible state of unions in Australia. I'll put a link to that in the description. Bad Empanada is a really great YouTuber, by the way. Definitely check out that channel. But yeah, there are definitely problems with trade unions around the world. In the United States, there are problems with corruption and collusion with management as well in many trade unions. Trade unions are not perfect. And I've had some people even say that they have problems with their local IWW branch, whether it's just a lack of an ability to get in touch with them. Some people have said that they try to get in touch with their local IWW branch and they couldn't get a hold of them. Some people have said that their local branch of the IWW just doesn't do anything. They're not very effective. They don't have a lot of meetings or anything like that. We'll talk about, if you have issues with the IWW and other militant unions in a bit. But first, let's just talk about the trade unions. So yeah, if you're having problems with your trade union, that's a serious problem, and that's something you need to be taking very seriously. I mean, I know that a lot of us, when we have a situation like that, where we go and we start to, get involved with an organization like that we think is there to help us, and then we find out that there are all these problems, it can be very frustrating. If you have issues with your trade union, you need to start to be active and try to push for change, try to affect change. It's not something that's easy. It's not something that's necessarily going to be comfortable. But if there's anything that you could do to be active, to share your voice, speaking up, do it. Get up there and shake things up and cause problems for the people who are causing problems for you. It's the same situation as if you were in an organization with no union whatsoever. You'd still have to be going out there and trying to organize and trying to share this kind of information with your fellow workers. Basically, if your trade union sucks, do what you can to try to improve it. Do what you can to call it out, to speak up. And, if there's just nothing else you can do, then there are other options. There are other militant unions that you could join. When you're working in a shop and everyone has this attitude of apathy, they're giving up, they just don't have any faith in the union, that's what the managers and the corrupt union officials are relying on. They're relying on your apathy. It's the same as anything else. So we have to, as leftists, step forward and be willing to take the fight to the oppressors, even if there are union representatives. So that's the square one, step one point of leftism is that we don't just lay down and die. We stand up and we fight. And whether it's fighting with your managers or whether it's fighting with your corrupt union bosses or fighting against the whole collusion, of all the powers that be, we have to fight. So that's all I have to say about that. So circling back to the IWW, some people said that the IWW doesn't have a branch in my country or state or region. Some people said the IWW has tried to organize in my area, but they failed. And some people have said the IWW exists in my region, but they suck. They don't do any organizing. They don't offer any resources. Some people were saying, we had this one pretty long comment, but I'll go ahead and read it. It says, the IWW in North America is largely indistinguishable from any other lefty activist organization. Their efforts at actual workplace organizing are weak or non-existent, depending on the branch, and there are blocks of liberals within it who question the very validity of workplace organizing at all. To any working person who wants to actually gain anything in their workplace, the IWW is probably the worst choice of union despite actually being the most radical union. I don't say this to be a jerk or anything. I just think it's necessary to balance the usual glowing endorsements with a reality check. Anyone who joins with the desire to change this and make it an actual union again, just know that you have an uphill battle ahead of you. And then there was this comment on Reddit. I feel like this video doesn't really have any useful information. Yeah, unions are good, but in the real world, unionizing requires sophisticated organizing activity, and no disrespect to the IWW, but other unions are probably a better bet for getting actual results than joining an explicitly political union that might not have any organizing experience in your particular industry. So here's the thing. And I don't mean any, just as these people have said they don't mean any disrespect to me, I don't mean any disrespect to them. But this negative attitude, it's just, to me, it feels like defeatism. Okay, so I don't care if the IWW doesn't exist where you are. I don't care if the IWW sucks where you are. The point isn't just to join the IWW, and it's not just to join a trade union. The point is to become active and involved and to take more ownership of your labor. Okay, that's the point here. All right, don't try to oversimplify the message here. When I say you need to be in a union, I'm not just saying go join your union, get your card, your life's going to be better. That is not the point at all, and I probably should have been much more concrete and specific in what I was, in relating what I was trying to recommend yesterday. So let me put it much more bluntly here. I'm not just asking you to join a union. I'm asking you to be an active union organizer yourself, okay? And that doesn't mean you're going to do everything overnight, and we're going to get to that, but I'm just saying become more active. If the IWW sucks where you are or doesn't exist, there are things you can do. And I'm not saying you alone. I'm saying you can find other workers who work in your field or who work in your area, or find other people to collaborate with, and you can either start your own IWW chapter where you are, or you can join another militant union. There are many other militant unions, and some of them are in solidarity to the IWW. Some are not. Some are specific to some nations. Do some research and see if there's already a better union that does suit your needs. Or go into your IWW or whatever union you have available. Go in there and shake things up and become more active yourself. So all I'm saying to you is try to take ownership of your labor and learn to be an organizer. And yes, that takes time, and it's not easy, and it's not going to happen overnight. But the sooner you begin and the more you commit yourself to it, it's going to have ripple effects throughout the rest of your life and the rest of your career. It's important stuff. We need to fight. We need to take possession of our labor and realize the power we have collectively. That's what I'm saying here. So I'm not saying go join the union, get your card, you're done. No. That's just the beginning. Getting your card is step one. There's much, much more work to be done after that. Okay? And if you don't have an active, an effective, and a useful union in your area, either start one yourself or better yet, find an active union somewhere else. I mean, we have the internet now, people. You can find people who are saying they have a good experience with their union wherever they are. You can contact the general inquiry contact information for the IWW or whatever other union you're interested in, and you can get advice and information from them. Okay, you can learn from your comrades. This stuff, it's well established globally. There's a long, rich tradition here. There's tradecraft. There are skills that you can learn and proven tactics that work, and you can learn from each other. We can learn from each other. So don't just give up. Don't just say, oh, there's no good union in my area. The IWW sucks in my area. The trade union's corrupt. It's too much. It's too difficult. There's no way that this is going to be useful to you. It's not true. There are things you can do. Okay. So I had some people who said like, oh, I'm a freelancer. I work in fast food, or even I'm unemployed. What good is a union for me? Okay. So, I mean, you have to, I want you to if you're thinking thoughts like that, I want you to try to like look deeper into, I guess, the theory of what we're talking about here when we talk about militant unionization. Okay. The whole point is not just to help you right now. And it's not just to help you. Okay. When you join a union, and I got a lot of comments that were like, oh, well, I'm not sure I'm going to get anything out of a union. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like I'm better off on my own. And it's like that. If you think that, then why are you a leftist? If you really believe that, then why aren't you like go read Ayn Rand? Like if you really feel like you better as an individual are going to be better off in whatever career you have, that's not leftism. Okay. Leftism is about collectivizing our strength. Okay. So it's not about what you can get from the union. Don't think of it as this like static other that you go to get services from. Okay. It's not like a vending machine. You put your quarter in and you get your potato chips of solidarity out. No, you have to go in there and you have to do the work with your comrades. Okay. That's what this is all about. So stop thinking of the union as something you join to get tangible benefits right now. It's a movement, especially militant unions like the IWW. And there is a distinction between a trade union, like all the different trade unions for all the different specific trades, especially in America, where they basically just exist, and it's not unimportant. And there are trade unions. A lot of trade unions do a lot of good for a lot of workers, but what trade unions typically are doing is very specific and very focused for people in that one trade, in that one shop. They're very hyper focused on those kinds of tangible benefits. But then you have militant unions like the IWW and other sorts of unions. They are focused, just like we as leftists are focused, on abolishing the wage system. Okay, it's a long-term goal. It's a long-term movement that you are joining when you join the IWW. And it's not going to happen overnight. So if you're unemployed and you're not completely economically unstable and you could afford to join the IWW, it's still worth joining and going to meetings and learning how to organize, picking up these skills, networking, finding comrades. There's a lot you can get out of it. And there's a lot you can give. And we had a great comment who said, IWW welcomes any members of the working class. Just because you're unemployed or disabled, and I had made a comment in the last video about how some people with disabilities might not want to join a union, but this person says, if you're disabled, it doesn't mean that you aren't still part of the working class. Helen Keller was a famous IWW member and advocate, and that is something that I didn't know. That I did a little research on that, and it's amazing. Read some of what Helen Keller had to say about the IWW and about the working class. Helen Keller was a hell of a comrade, okay? And she had, severe disabilities, but she still felt like she could contribute, and she did contribute tremendously to the movement of the working class towards abolishing the wage system. So honestly, these militant unions really are very inclusive, and no matter what you're doing, with very few exceptions, which again, we'll get to in a second, you can benefit from them, but more importantly, you can benefit the movement. You can go in and contribute your labor and your intelligence and your passion into the movement. That's what we're talking about here. So if you're going to your union, any union, and you're thinking with the mindset, I'm not sure I'm going to get anything out of this union, or I was in a union and I didn't get anything out of it, then you're being a bad comrade when you go in with that mindset. Why would you want to focus on what you're getting out of the union? Focus on what you can put into the union. Focus on what you can contribute. Focus on what ideas you're bringing to the table, or how you can spend your time to make things better. That's the whole point here. That's the whole point of organizing labor. That's the whole point of leftism, is building a movement and contributing, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. That's the key to all of this. It's the simplest maxim, but it's one of the most important. From each according to their ability to each according to their need. And you need to be focusing on and don't ask, what can I get out of this? Ask, what abilities do I have? What can they get from me? Don't ask, what do I need from them? Start with, what can they get from me and my abilities and my capacities and my faculties and my situation? What can I contribute? That is leftism. Starting with the question, what can I contribute? Okay? And yes, getting what you deserve back. Demanding what you deserve back. Demanding more from your union bosses and demanding more consideration from the management. Okay? And speaking of management, some people ask, like, I'm a manager, can I join the IWW? Because the IWW has a no bosses clause. If you're a boss or you're a cop, you're not welcome in the IWW. They don't accept bosses and cops. So a lot of people are like, well, what is a boss? I'm a manager. Does that mean I'm a boss? So the general criteria, from what I understand doing a little research, is bosses are people who have the ability to hire and fire. So if you have the ability to hire people and fire them at your own discretion, then you're probably a boss and you probably are not eligible to join the IWW. You can contact your local IWW representative and talk to them about your situation and see if you qualify as a boss or not. But if you are a boss and you have the ability to hire and fire people and you're a leftist, you're in a very unique position. And maybe you can't join a union, but there are a lot of other ways that you can use that position to help the working class, to help the people who literally, in many cases, rely on you. You can help a lot from that position, even if you can't join a union. So just think outside the box and try to think of how you can help organize maybe in different ways. Or maybe you could just be more open to unions or it depends on your situation. But obviously, if you're a person who can hire and fire people, you're in a different situation than most workers, okay? And maybe the unions aren't the best way for you to help our cause of leftism. And if you're a capitalist and you're a leftist, you need to do some soul searching and really rethink your whole situation. I say that as a former capitalist. And then speaking of hiring and firing and getting fired, I had a lot of people who were asking, or telling me that they're worried that they'll get retaliated against by their company or even by their country, because in some countries they have very strict anti-union sentiment and laws, and then a lot of companies are very strictly anti-union. So people are saying, I'm afraid I'll get fired if I go and join a union. Well, you can join the IWW clandestinely. You don't have to disclose to your employer that you joined the IWW. Okay, like there was one person who said, I live in Mexico, I'm an immigrant, and it's illegal for me. I don't know if this is true or not, but what this person said was it's illegal for them to join a union because they're not, because they're an immigrant. I don't know if that's true or not, but if you're in a situation like that where it's illegal for you to join a union or you don't feel comfortable joining a union because you're an immigrant, maybe register in a militant union in your home country clandestinely and just don't disclose it to the government or the corporation or whatever, wherever you are. Keep it a secret. But you can still participate. You can still get information. You can still be contributing, okay? You don't have to bring it into your workplace when you're not comfortable. So now let's talk about, the timeline of joining a union, because I'm afraid some people get the impression when I say go join a union that I'm saying like, go join a union and go talk to all your coworkers and start a union in your workplace and do it all right now. And that's far from what you should be doing, okay? In terms of timeline, this stuff takes time, okay? It's going to take time for you to meet other people, get the feel for the union you're in, get a feel for, the lay of the land, and then start to pick up the skills and the knowledge that it's going to take to organize in your workplace. You need to take things, depending on your situation, you're probably going to want to take things pretty slowly and learn things and build your confidence. And that's why I said if you're unemployed or if you're a student, get a head start on it and join a militant union now and start networking and learning now so you'll be ahead of the game when you do get a job down the road. But the point is, build your confidence, build your knowledge. Don't just run in guns a-blazing. No one's asking you to do that, to go into your workforce and just be like, we're starting a union right now. If you're not comfortable doing that, if you're scared to do that because you don't want to lose your job, just join the union secretly, get the knowledge, make the contacts, learn how this organization stuff works, okay? And then over time, you'll start to get a feel for how workplace organization works. You can learn these things in so many ways. You can learn it from the organization you're already a member of. You can read books. You can, again, collaborate with union members in other locations. But take your time with it. And then when you feel comfortable and confident and you think you know what you're doing, then you can start salting your union. But the earlier you start, the better. And the more of this knowledge and these skills you acquire, the better off you're going to be for the rest of your career. Okay? And that's really all there is to it. This is not a magic bullet. It's not something that's going to, increase your income, and your work conditions are not going to improve overnight. It takes time. And there is risk involved. But this is so important. It's worth the risk in most situations. You're going to have to take a look at your situation, balance the risk, decide if you're going to disclose or keep it undisclosed. But I'm telling you, if you look into this stuff and you consider it very deeply as a leftist, consider your values, consider the world that you want to see, consider the future that you want for yourself and for your fellow workers. And if you balance all that in the scales, I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to realize the value of an organized labor force wherever you are. And you're going to hopefully, I hope you will decide to organize in the best way that fits your circumstances. And if you have questions about that, you're not sure what to do, contact a militant union. If your local branch doesn't respond, go up the ladder. If your city doesn't reply, see if there's a state office. If the IWW doesn't respond, period, look for another militant union. If you can't find any other union that can help you, start your own. But don't do it alone. Find other people to talk to, get information, make it happen. The IWW and similar militant political unions of the world, they serve a unique role. Okay, they have a unique history. They have a unique strategy. They have a longer term sort of strategy. And they need dedicated leftists who, like me, and hopefully like you, desperately seek to abolish the capitalist wage system. It's a long-term goal. It's a revolutionary goal. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and it's not something that you're going to get a lot of immediate personal gain from. That's not why we join militant unions like the IWW. And if it's true that there are branches of the IWW and there are people in the IWW who are not dedicated to that militant goal of abolishing wage capitalism, all that tells me is that we need more people like you, leftists like you, who are dedicated to abolishing capitalism, to inject some fresh blood into those chapters and into that organization and get behind the mission of a militant union and abolish, hopefully eventually we will abolish the wage system. That's the point. It's not going to be easy, and we're not going to be able to do it fragmented up and hemming and hawing and delaying because we're so concerned with what immediate personal benefit we're going to get out of the organization. We need to go in there. We need to find out how we can help. We need to find out what we can learn. We need to get this tradecraft, which is dying on the left. The tradecraft of how you get workers together, how you organize them, how you resist management, the tactics, the strategies. We need to pick this stuff back up again and make it an important, a vital, a thriving part of our movement again. Okay, so much of that has withered away. It's time to revive it. Get out there and do it. No excuses, okay? And no negative mealy-mouthed comments, all right? If you don't like something, you stand up and go out there and make a difference, all right? I'm tired of the negativity on the left. I'm tired of people having a million complaints and a million nitpicks, but no solutions. Find the solutions, get it done. I'm American Johnson. This is NonCompete. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
And here's some of that
Communism.
energy going to work. Our young cowboy friend has written a letter to his hero.
Communism.